The latest Marvel movie, Avengers Endgame, is dominating the box office. The movie made $1.2 billion worldwide in just 5 days. Anne-Marie, I know your $15 was part of that. Not. That makes it the first film, although I know your husband is totally into it,
He
right?
would be into
so,
it,
yeah, if you guys have been busy. It's the first one in history to cross the $1 billion mark in its debut.
It also had the biggest overseas and domestic debut and the largest domestic opening day. They took all the titles on that one. Erik Davis, managing editor of Fandango, joins us now on the phone for a spoiler-free conversation about the debut. Understand, gentlemen?
I mean, everybody saw it. What's the what?
Some people are waiting for on demand.
All right.
All right. So let's talk about this major box office debut. How did Marvel pull this off? Was it about demand, or was it about the fact that it was on so many screens?
Well, yeah, it also broke a record for the amount of screens that it was on, as well as the per-screen average on those screens. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they did it by building up for 10 years this storyline, this narrative. We've never seen that really in the history of film, this 22-year story arc, this 22-movie story arc. And I think each one got progressively better and better. And they hit their stride. They knew how to tell these really entertaining films for all ages. And they built up, and this one just knocked it out of the park. It's the highest-rated Avengers movie, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes that we've seen so far. So I think they just did a wonderful job of building up that anticipation at the same time as social media was blossoming. And so you had all of these platforms, and fans were able to sort of share their love and help it grow and grow and grow.
You know, Erik, one of the things I thought as I looked at the numbers of people who went and saw this film over the last couple of days is we don't often have moments like this in this country or anywhere really in the world where a collective of people engage in an activity that you can then talk about with people around the water cooler. We used to have those a lot before the true rise of the internet, where everybody saw the finale of Seinfeld or the finale of MASH or watched the Beatles perform on the Ed Sullivan Show. And when you think about those numbers, 50 million plus people watching the Beatles, and now we always used to say, well, nobody does that anymore because our attentions are divided between so many screens and you know, binge watching on television. Does this mean that we could see a change to more collective experiences in this country, or is this really just because this is a series that for the last 10 years or so has fished out movies that we've all grown to anticipate?
Also, is this Vlad's way of making me feel like I'm completely disconnected from the fabric of what sort of brings joy to this country?
You need to be part of the collective.
I know. I'm not part of the hive.
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that, yeah, I think Marvel did a really good job at sort of making people want to see this and making a lot of people want to see it. But I think that these kinds of movies also remind people why they like going to the films and why they like going to these movies where they're sold out opening weekends to see it with a crowd, because it reminds them why that shared experience when you're actually with, you know, hundreds of people in the same room all cheering something on, why that means a lot to people. And so you would hope that films like this will help kind of have a surge at the box office. It'll remind people to keep going to the movies, people that don't usually go as much. But it's also going to be on Hollywood to sort of create these events more often. I think we'll have another one at the end of this year with Star Wars Episode 9. And then what's the future hold, I think we're going to see. You know, the highest grossing movie of all time, James Cameron's Avatar, that first sequel comes out next year in 2020. And so will we see the same kind of momentum for that too, as we'll have to see. All
right. So one little, it's not a spoiler, but I want to ask Erik a question about the ongoing the ongoing franchise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because there are actors whose contracts are up. That's all I'm going to say, okay? And so, but we know that Disney is not going to shelve this superhero series. So what does that mean? Are we looking at some point in the future, Erik, for certain characters to be rebooted in the same way that we had Spider-Man rebooted several times? In other words, the Tobey Maguire films were not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but this new incarnation of Spider-Man is.
Well, I mean, Marvel right now kind of has an embarrassment of riches, right? Because they have Fox. So they have all of these Fox characters that they can dive into without having to necessarily bring back one of these characters whose contract is ending. But, contract schmonk track, when you're making a $1.2 billion globally opening weekend, the contracts don't mean anything. I think any one of these guys or girls will say, sure, I'll do another one of those, fine. So we'll have to see. But I definitely think that a lot of eyes are on those Fox characters. When will Marvel say what they're doing with the X-Men, with the Fantastic Four? And then in 2 months, there's a new Spider-Man movie, and that's part of this Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so I think people should know this is not ending. This is not the end of all the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They are making a bunch more, and the next one comes out in 2 months, so you won't have long to wait.
Wow. Let the hyperventilating start now.
I'm ready.
Commence
I'm ready.
now.
More.
Erik, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.